Good evening, Norcal Karters. It's Friday, October 30th, and tonight we have the NCK president, Mark Morrison, joining us. Mark, say good evening.
Good evening, all. How are you doing?
Everyone's doing great. At least I am. And for those of you that would like to ask Mark a question, you can go on the Spreaker app and look for Norcal Karters, and you can chat live with us. And Mark is going to tell us about the Speed Vegas event.
All right. Well, Speed Vegas was, of course, last Sunday at the facility named as Speed Vegas. It was the first time ever that a actual racing event was ever held on the facility. 1.5 mile small road course, smooth as glass, and everybody had a fantastic time. We had 50 some drivers show up. They all had the opportunity to run 3 races each, so the drivers got their bellies full of the track. Best track time, I believe, was a minute flat, I think, set by one of the Formula 125 guys. So, and we were trying for a sub 1 minute lap on the track, but we had a wind blowing down track at about 35-mile-an-hour headwind, so that kind of slowed the pace up.
Oh, wow.
But other than that, it was a fantastic day. It was a long day for us. We started at 6:30 in the morning with drivers meeting. Practice started at 7, and then we ran until a little bit after 5 o'clock, alternating with Speed Vegas cars.
Okay.
Of course, they rent their exotic cars, so we were on the track at the top of the hour, and then they were on the track at the bottom of the hour, and we rotated throughout the whole day. And we didn't have any problems.
So
we
how
did
is
really
the dynamic between the Karters and the customers that show up to rent the supercars? Were there any off-track excursions, meaning did the rental guys go off track and bring a bunch of dirt on the track, or was all of that was the track well groomed?
I think we did putting the dirt on the track, not the cars. So we kept the sweeper busy a couple times. So over the years we've always found that regardless of what the track is, even though somebody hasn't been on it, there will always be somebody go off the track within the first 2 laps because they think they've already got it mastered. So that was our issue right off the bat in the morning is people missing some turns. The track, most people thought the track would be an easy drive. Turn 5 and turn 10 were the most difficult turns on the track, and it took most of the people almost the first practice session just to get through them 2 turns before they finally figured it out.
Hey, which direction did you run the track, clockwise or counterclockwise?
We ran the track counterclockwise, same as the cars.
Okay.
We had looked at earlier in the year to run it clockwise, but the facility asked us not to.
The facility asked you what?
Not to run it their opposite direction.
Got it.
Because we looked at it that it was instead of some of the turns being decreasing radiuses, they'd become reversed, and it just made it look like it would flow better. But they were concerned about downhill run, 1/2 mile straightaway going into a right-hand turn. They just felt it was going to be unsafe.
Got it. So the normal direction, the straightaway, you're going uphill?
Yeah, it's uphill from the top of the track to the bottom of the track. They say it's a 60-foot elevation change.
Okay.
So it's coming out of turn 15. From the center of the apex to the first right-hand turn is right at a half a mile long.
Got it.
So, and then we had no issues of anybody going in the turn one. Everybody played nice there, so which was a big concern for everybody at that speed. But with running into a headwind and some elevation change, it did slow them down a little bit. So coming down through the S's was actually faster for them with the tailwind. And then Sean Vaughn, Todd Cameron, and I think there was one more Formula 125, and they were both on, I believe, KZ motors. They were knocking on the sub-minute laps, and they by their second race they had the track figured out. The track was really suited for sprint karts more than the superkarts had the speeds down the straightaway, but coming down through the S's, the sprint guys just would eat them up. So it was, and they're about equal in time. We had 21 tags show up to become our one largest single group for the day.
Really?
So
okay.
that was really good, and they all played nice again. So yeah, I was pleased with the turnout. We had a lot of people show up from the Vegas area. We had people drive from Arizona up to it. Of course, Southern California. And I don't know of any other states. So California, Arizona, Nevada. We might have had one Oregon person that come down for the weekend to run. But so far our poll has been overwhelmingly we want to go back. So we're going to look into, again, doing a minimum of one, maybe two races there next year, one in the spring, one in the fall, when the weather's still cool. We had lots of spectators watching, and most of them were there to start off with the rental car end of it, and they didn't realize that there was a race going on at the same time. So the upper floor of the complex has a large balcony, and there was always 100 to 150 people standing on the balcony watching. And then, of course, the start-finish line was right there underneath them, so they got a view of that. What else was there?
So refresh my memory again. The track direction that you ran was clockwise?
Counterclockwise.
Oh, counterclockwise. Okay.
Yeah, counterclockwise. So it's the normal direction that their car program runs.
Got it. So the karts at the start-finish line, they weren't at max speed.
No, they weren't at max speed. So
for those that are listening, if you go to Google Maps and just type in Speed Vegas, the track pops right up, and it looks like the start-finish line's right there at the end of the buildings.
It is. That's where they have their logo and everything painted. So we had some challenges getting there and getting the day set up. We were there from Friday to Sunday. The facility didn't have a scoring loop installed in the premise or the facilities because they use a different type of system that is all GPS related because they do more filming and that type of thing. So their time starts once the system sees a complete lap at a known point, just like Micron would. But for us, running a loop and everything like that, we had to put it on the painted surface because the timing and scoring office was directly above that.
Got it.
So
okay.
we had to tape the scoring loop down. They wouldn't let us cut into the pavement to put a permanent loop in. So we prayed to the Gorilla Grip tape guys that it would stick, and it stuck all day. So we lucked out on that one.
So is that a plug for Gorilla Tape?
Yes. duct tape, just a duct tape wouldn't hand it, but the Gorilla Tape apparently is a little more sticky. So we applied it down, and we had the cars drive over it for a bit, and they didn't pull it up, and the carts didn't pull it up, so it actually lasted all day. So knock on wood, we got away with one. And then, of course, if everybody looked at it through Google Maps, they'll notice that there's not much of a pit area in that place. So we were challenged with putting all our racers in a 300 by 150 foot paved area. Mm-hmm. So we made, we marked it all out with chalk and laid it out. We actually got everybody on the paddock area. There was some, people showed up with 2 or 3 carts, so we worked everything out with everybody. And it worked out good. It just reminded me of the days of going to Prairie City or Dixon or Atwater and parking out on the side street during a regional race. It was that tight in there. So, but it worked out good for everybody. But it was all day. People had smiling faces. So there again, we still can't complain about it. So.
Yeah, that would have been a fun event to go to if there was just you and I talked the week before. They had the Sonoma Rock Sonoma season finale that same weekend. But how? So getting to Vegas, I mean, you're kind of sticking your neck out there, going down to Vegas during this whole COVID thing. Do you think that affected your entries?
Yes, it did. It affected, we had some of my racers that were just, they hadn't run with us all year because of COVID. We had a lot of Vegas racers that I had talked to that were coming that didn't show up because of COVID. We had to wear masks. We still had to do social distancing. And you couldn't go inside the building without a mask because they had people there watching you. So it was still pretty much the same here in California as far as what we had to do in social distancing and that type of thing. But this year has been really hard to maintain events, keep events going. And with cancellations and changing dates and stuff, we've had, as far as I'm concerned, a really good year on that respect, because this was our third attempt to run Speed Vegas this year was this, because originally we were set for early April, and then COVID come out. Nevada stayed open a little bit longer before they shut down, so finally we had to just cancel that date. And then we moved it to October 3rd and 4th. No, excuse me, October 11th. So we had everything all planned for October 11th. We had a Laguna date, and then with COVID, the restrictions were so bad that we just got out of Laguna because we couldn't meet the sound limit at 92. The COVID restrictions were we couldn't, they were just nuts about it. So we had an opportunity then to do a 2-day race at Thunder Hill with the Shelby Club of America. So it was like, okay, 2 days, no sound restrictions. Let's do that. So we did that. So I had to get on the phone again to Speed Vegas and say, hey, I have a problem. I can't show up with all our people a week later because of prep and all this. Can we move it to the end of the month? And they looked at their calendar and give us the 25th. And I says, we'll be there. So with the 3 changes and trying to keep up with the information being passed around and stuff, I think it was a pretty good weekend.
Nice. And then did the Speed Vegas guys, did it seem like they had a good experience as well, trying to handle more of a racing crowd and everybody coming in?
So a little story. So 6:30, actually it was 5 o'clock Sunday morning when I walk in. I get to meet the general manager that actually just runs the day-to-day operations of the cars and the front counter and things like that. And he's there, and he has a list a mile long of oh my gods and what ifs, because they have never dealt with any type of racing. So I kind of had to grab him by the hand, and I says, here, we'll do, this is what happens when this goes, and this and this and this and that type of thing. And he's worried about we taking too much time and things like that. So when we have a clock time at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour, we have to be we can be on the track at the top of the hour when they're clear, and then we have to be off and done at the bottom of the hour. So we manage our time really well. So depending on if there was no spin outs, we could keep the cars on the track much longer because they could just drive in. But if we had to go retrieve, then of course we would just take some time away and retrieve so the facility could still start at their half the hour. So between the practice and things like that and a couple spin outs, by our first race, they were smiling because they finally realized that apparently we knew what we were doing.
Nice.
Which was a big relief to me. So we had, by 10 o'clock, we had the chief financial officer was there. One of the 5 silent partners was there, and then and they stayed there all day. A lot of their office people was there all day, and they just walked around with smiles on their faces all day. By the end of the day, like I said, they wanted to know if we'd come back 4 times next year.
4 times? Oh, wow.
Yeah, they'd like, yeah, you guys can come back 4 times, and it's just, we can't do it as much as I'd like to, but I says, we might come back 2 at the most. And then they asked me why, and I says, well, this first race was brand new, so those that showed up wanted to try it to see if they liked it. And half of them brought their friends and stuff that had carts that just stepped beside. They wanted to wait. So next year, I says, we can do it again next year. We'll draw the same amount of people plus more, because now they're going to go tell all their friends about it and how great it was. And it'd be really great, so that'll make it another big event. And then the third time I said, now we're starting to get in where it just becomes a regular race. And then so I'm afraid like the third time we'll drop back down to where we'll call it, let's say, a normal group of people then that would show up. Because it's not new. It's not new no more, even though Vegas is a destination. So,
yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it seems like your racers are definitely prone to, they want the, what is that right word? The rarity of an event.
Yes.
I mean, if you had Laguna once every 5 years, you'd sell it out every time.
Correct.
And then everyone says, oh, we love Laguna, and you put on the calendar every year, and then you just watch the entries drop down year after year after year.
Well, if over the years, I've seen, we've done it, when Southern California Karters were still an organization doing road racing. They did it at California Speedway. The first year they had, I don't know what the drivers were, but over 3 days they had over 600 entries over 3 days. And then the second year it dropped down to, I think, a 400. The third year it was less than 200 entries. We did Laguna. Laguna was the same way. First year we had pushing 200 entries. And then it dropped a little bit, and it dropped. And then the fourth 2-day event, the trend was the bucket list isn't there anymore, because now it just becomes the average, and it got to the point that just not enough people show up to where it was worth doing 2 days. And with the restrictions at Laguna, we can do a one-day club race, but we won't get any out-of-state followers, because a lot of people don't want to drive for one day. And then I don't remember what the name of the organization was, but they did Miller Motorsports and a few places back east in Atlanta, and he run into the same problem where the first year was great, second year was it was okay, and the third year it was terrible. And that organization, company, person is no longer around. So we've kind of looked at that, and we've seen that that is what happens. Is I call it the shock and awe, or the bucket list racers. They want to go do it for the first time, and then after that it wears off. So we'll stick maybe to, like I said, 2 races there next year, and see how it goes.
Well, that's a great sign that the actual track wanted you back 4 times.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think 50 drivers, 55 drivers, I think that's a pretty good number, because you know better than I do from all the promotion that you do. Even though it's a new event and there's excitement, there's still a large majority of people is like, oh, well, that have the wait and see attitude.
Sure.
So, think of those, 55 guys that were there first. They were the ones that christened the track. And I think it was Sean Bond. He did post on Facebook that he had a hell of a time. He just thought it was just a great track and a great event, which just in karting in general, we need more of those. And like you said, Vegas is a destination. How did it work out with like the hotels, the dining and stuff like that?
So we had the discounted rates at the Inn Resort, which is about 2.5 miles into town from the track, because the track is on I-15 south of town.
Mm-hmm.
So the Inn Resort, we had discounted tickets there, or room rates, and then we had discounted room rates at the South Point. I stayed at the South Point. So the South Point was, the restaurants were all open, but at 50% capacity, because they had every other table marked off. So Friday night, the place was packed. 1.5 hour waiting lines to get into all the restaurant style places. Steak and Shakes had a 40-minute wait getting into that one.
Okay.
And the casino floor part was, the slot machines were not blocked off, or the chairs were taken away, and machines turned off to where it was about a 6-foot distance between each person. So what machines were open, pretty much everybody was on it. But what cracked me up is you went past the card tables and the roulette tables and them type of gaming tables where you stand, it stood next to them. They were all shoulder to shoulder. So it made no sense. It made no sense. It made no sense to me. But other than that,
I was in Tahoe a couple weeks ago, and the casino, it wasn't packed, but it was definitely packed with cigarette smoke. And here we are supposed to be worrying about our health, but go ahead, smoke on your cancer sticks all you want, and you just shake your head. It's like, okay, at what point do they really care about our health?
Exactly. Not to get off subject, but I had to stop at Walmart a couple of days ago.
Yep.
And of course, face masks are required and all this and that. There's no shopping carts. So I asked the lady at the gate or at the entrance, making sure that you have your face mask on and blah, blah, blah. She says, "Oh, sir, you'll have to get a shopping cart from outside. We don't have any in here right now." So I asked her, I said, "So I got to wear a face mask to walk in here. Now I got to go out and touch a shopping cart that I don't know who's had their filthy hands around it. or anything like that, and I'm going to push it in here, then wipe it off? She says, well, if you could.
Self-service.
Yeah, so some of this stuff absolutely makes no sense to
and
me.
And that's if you wipe it off. Then you're going to touch the handle and you're going to reach up and grab your bag of Cheetos and then decide, oh, I don't want Cheetos. I want chili Fritos. Right. And you put the bag back and yep.
Yep. So that's the hotels and everything were. Friday night was really, like I said, was really super busy. Saturday was not as busy, and of course Sunday was a lot slower. We walked right into the restaurant and got a table and ate. So, and then we stayed. We come back home Monday, so because I was pretty much whooped after this weekend. I didn't want to get up for 2 days.
Oh, come on! It wasn't that bad, was it?
Well, when you get to be an older man like me and you walk 5 miles each day, it seemed like it was a long day. Because my day started out at 5 in the morning. Friday we got there at 9. I didn't leave until 10 o'clock Friday night. Friday we drove down on Friday. Saturday I started at 9, stayed at the track until 10 o'clock because we had to move in and trying to get everybody pitted in and things like that because we didn't want to do it on race morning because our schedule was way early. So then Sunday morning I had to be to the track at 5 o'clock to get people moved in because our driver's meeting was at, I said 6:30 earlier, was at 6:15. So I had to be there early for that. And I only had 2 other people helping me. So it just made for a long weekend, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, that was one of those events at the beginning of the year I had on my calendar. It would have been fun to go. But as you probably know, I'll be in Vegas next week anyway for the Rock Cup stuff. And that's kind of what I'm curious about how they handled stuff as well. It's, we're rolling into town next week and there's a lot of misinformation going around. It's like, wait, Mark just came from Vegas. How was it?
Well, that's because I'm like you. I've heard all this disinformation about why we can't be putting on this certain race or this and that, and it was just like it was just a normal day to me. I was having people tell me that they're not allowing spectators, and it's like, well, that's news to me. If you come in and you sign the Speed Vegas waiver and then come into our paddock area and signed our waiver, there was no issues.
Yeah. Now, talking about that, how do you think the crossover went? You mentioned there were spectators, etc., but did you actually have some of those people walking through the pits and asking questions and
all day long?
All day long.
All day long. And a lot of them had not young kids, but well, to me they're young, 8 to 15-year-old kids with them, and they'd walk through as a family.
Okay.
And most kart racers, you ask them a question and they'll get an answer from anybody they talk to. So they all did that. Saturday when we were setting up, we set out. We put my supercar out on display, and then we had a shifter cart out there for a while. So as they walked out from their meetings or their, let's say, what their driver's meeting instruction thing to the cars, we had the cart set there so they can almost trip over them.
Nice.
So all day long, there was people looking at the carts and things like that. So we put up a few banners around and did that. So if anybody walked by there looking, and asked questions, they got answered.
Well, that's very nice. And that's what we keep saying, right? In karting, we need to attract other people. And what a great way to do it. I mean, you're the first association to try that track out. and you're already tapping into a motorsports market or enthusiasts if they're spending money to go rent a Lamborghini for a few laps.
Sure. And we had people ask us, can we rent these? And I says, no, yes, you can, but no, we don't rent them. We had, let's see, who was the heavy hitter? Andy Sesman showed up with his group. He had his trailer there with 4 or 5 carts.
Nice. Yeah.
Sean Bond, Todd Cameron. Who else is it? There was 3 or 4 people that showed up. We even had the president of WKA on the facility. So,
and what was his impression?
He was impressed.
Yeah, his,
so,
his name's escaping me right now. It's Williams.
Kevin
Williams.
Kevin Williams, yeah. Well, kind of find out he lived in Vegas, so it was kind of like, when people show up from other organizations, my ears usually perk up, going, So it's because it's like, okay, well, we've done this now. Are they going to go up and make a deal with the place so they can do something later or something like that? So I always get suspicious when people like that. But he just come out to watch, and at the end of the day, he come up, said, great show. He enjoyed it and thanked me and moved on. And then we had Roger Seymour Photography was there.
Okay.
He spent all day, took 500 photos of just mainly all the carts. I didn't see any cart pictures. Posted them on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and said, here you go, guys. They're your pictures.
Nice.
So, because I told him, I said, I needed the information where they could order them. He says, there's no charge. They can pick the pictures that have his image at the bottom, or ghost image, whatever you want to call it. But all the pictures were free.
Nice.
So, and he took some great pictures, and he stayed out there all day in the sun. And so that was
cool.
great. That was great that he was there.
Where do you have your lap times? Is it on Race Monitor?
It's on Speed Hive.
Speed Hive?
Yes, it's on Speed Hive. And they should be up to date. So, because usually, if they're on there prior to, let's say, like today, they're just basic lap times, because we haven't gone in and taken out any DQs or penalty people, that type of thing yet, until usually about midweek.
NCK
but
Speed
they
Vegas.
are.
There it is.
There we go. Yes.
One day I'll figure out your race schedules.
Well, it's just basically we have 3 groups that run 3 times, and each group, race 1 is group 1, and that would be our slowest carts, which would be the 100cc 80s tags. Race 2 would be group 2, would be our stock motos, the SCUSA style stock moto with a regular CIK cart, and then
looks like some 250s.
So that would, yeah, and then in race 3 would be the 250s and Formula 125s. Now, Formula 125s are any built 125 motor or ICC motor is our Formula 125.
Got it.
So, and then our in Group 2, our stock moto class, of course, we've been 99 cylinders with the stock moto since day one, but we can run a road race style fairing on it. So that makes our standard road racing stock moto class, and then we have what we call the SCUSA stock moto, which is 99 cylinder or the 2001 cylinder with a CIK fairing.
Got it. Okay.
So and they all run together, but they're scored separately. So and I know you've cussed up and down because you don't understand. We have 32 classes.
That's why I cuss up and down.
Well, yeah. So it's 32 classes, but the basic classes are tag, stock moto, and then normally our supercart is the one of the three classes. So basically everything else is one here, two there. So we're slowly condensing all the classes down into, we're going back to the old factory experimental 1, 2, and 3, which factory experimental is pretty much anything 100 cc's. Factory experimental 2 is 125 cc's, and 3 is like an unlimited class.
Got it. Okay.
So if you show up with an old Emmy cart with 2 McCulloughs on it, and it's 125 cc's total, it would go in FKE 2, for example.
Got it.
So we still try to make sure that everybody has a place to run.
Who is Darren Padfield?
Who's who?
Darren Padfield.
I'm not for sure. What's he running?
Let's see. Race 2.
Okay, what was the cart?
I don't think it says
ICC. Yeah, it does. Oh, you're looking at by.
I'm on Speed High.
You're looking at the results by the whole run group.
Yes.
I think in the top right corner you can go to class.
Let's see, 175. There we go.
All right. Is it a 175?
Yeah, it's 175.
What was his lap time?
A minute, 1 minute, and one. These road race times throw me off. Minute flat and 3/10.
Okay.
And then Todd Cameron had the next fastest. He runs. I think Todd Cameron. He's an ICC guy that runs a TM.
Yes.
He did a minute flat in 5/10.
Okay. So Todd or Sean was the fastest 125.
Yeah, it was Todd.
Okay, and then Sean Bond was second fastest.
Yeah, right there.
And then we were supposed to have, of course, 6 months ago, we were supposed to have a half a dozen 175 show up. But I think he was the only one, maybe.
Well, that's what it looks like here, yeah.
Yeah, and then we even had one 206 show up.
Oh, really?
Yep. And there again, their whole group was, we're all coming out, and one showed up.
Yeah.
So, but that's racing. So, but a lot of them of each group throughout the day, a lot of the locals showed up, just to watch, and they're kicking themselves in the butts for not showing up with their carts.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll be at the next one. I'm looking through, let's see, Race Group 5, and there's a number of names I recognize that are from the Vegas area that showed up to race.
Right. There was Gabriel
Garcia?
Gabriel, yep, and I think he's from Henderson or something like that. Yeah. He come out. There was a group of There was a group of 4 trailers that were from the area that all ran tag, I think. No, the Vegas area was well represented. So I was pleased with the turnout, because I looked at, of course, when I say we're Northern California Karters and we're going to Las Vegas, Nevada, some people wonder, That's too far. We're Northern California Karters. We shouldn't be going there. But it's we have throughout the year, we have people from Vegas. I think about 11 racers that come from Vegas and Southern California that run every one of our events.
Yeah.
So I try to put something close to them, so they're not doing the seven, hour tow, 8-hour tow, whatever it is, 600 miles tow all the time, and they never say a word. So that was the other reason.
I think it's easy to get NorCal drivers to Vegas once or twice a year. If the situation was going to be different, because it is a destination, there's other things to do. It's not like we're going out to BFE and it's like going to be a windstorm and yeah, the track's nice, but there's nothing here.
Right. I couldn't do the same thing at Willow Springs.
Yeah.
Because they're just flat, nothing out there unless you want to pet a desert lizard or something.
Yeah,
there's nothing to do. Right. And I did notice that a lot of drivers that my regulars showed up with their significant others, family. They had family come in to visit them, so they made an entire weekend out of it. So Vegas being the destination, that helped pull this off too.
Yeah, nice. So you didn't have any issues with the hotel? You didn't have any issues with dining or food?
Nope.
You obviously didn't have any major issues with Speed Vegas if they want you to have 4 races there next year.
No, we didn't. So I've actually started talking to them again for next year. And I think we talked about this the last time we talked. We will look into the possibilities of doing a Saturday night, Sunday race, and do Saturday night under the lights.
Okay.
Maybe do the first group 1, 2, and 3 Saturday night practice. Saturday evening, do where everybody gets all their first races in Saturday night, and then do Sunday. Then that way we can shorten our Sunday day up a little bit, get out a little sooner, sleep in a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
And do it over 2 days. So we're looking at doing it under the lights. So and of course, if we do make this work under the lights, that's another first one for a while. So a lot of people will want to try that.
Yeah, it's. I think the first time I ever raced under the lights was in Vegas at the old Xplex track, which is right down the street from Speed Vegas.
Okay.
And it was just such a neat experience. We had a bunch of laps at Xplex as far as during the day. And it was amazing how the track changed because you're on it at night and it's almost different senses.
Yes. The turns look different. You can't read read the terrain, but that's not the right word to use. The elevation changes in the track aren't as obvious at night.
And the shadows and everything else. It's really neat.
Yeah. So we're looking into that, and that would be the only other big twist in the things that we would probably do.
Yeah.
So the disadvantage with Speed Vegas is we have to share with the cars. We can't go in there and say we want the track for ourselves for a whole day, because at 15 cars at $500 a turn for 5 laps. Right now they're at $300, so they reduced the price a little bit. But still, they have, if they're busy, their minimum income for the day is around $30,000.
Got it. Okay.
So, and if they're gonna give me the track for the whole day, somebody's got to make up that $30,000 or whatever that number is.
That's yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna. Hey,
did you have any of your any of the NCK guys? Did you have any of them come in a little early and actually take some of the cars around the track?
Yeah, we had one tag driver showed up Saturday to it's a father and son. The son drives, but the son is in his early 20s. They showed up Saturday just to rent a car to get the track advantage on their opponents.
Oh, nice.
So, and then there was the app. So we had some people take they have a 1.5 mile off-road stadium truck course out there as well.
Okay.
So we had some people go out and do that. I don't know if anybody took any cars out on Sunday, but quite a few people did the stadium truck ride. So yeah, it was that, and then they give us a discount. Everybody that had an NCK neckband or lanyard around their necks had a 25% discount for any of the car rides.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, so I mean the facility was just they were just anything we wanted, open arms. They give us the entire upstairs lobby, which is a big, or not a lobby, but a conference room. Mm-hmm. We had that. They had bottled water for us. They produced the lanyards that had, of course, one side was their banner, the other side had our race day schedule on it, which I thought was kind of neat. Because somebody says, I want a schedule. I says, it's around your neck. So that was kind of cool, but they made up all these lanyards for us, and they had signs made up pointing to where the lobby was and where this was, where to enter the pits, and anything we needed, they asked. They supplied all the towing for us, so they had side-by-sides and 2 trucks. Normally we have an ambulance on site, but they have a full medical staff there, and the ambulance was 2 minutes away. So when we signed the deals and everything like that, I said, we'll use your medical staff, and then we'll just bring in an ambulance, as needed. So then we weren't going to pay an $1,800 ambulance bill to sit there. They brought an ambulance in anyway.
Got it. Okay.
Because that's how nervous they were.
Yeah.
They brought in a coffee truck from 6:00 Sunday morning until 11. They had coffee and pastries and that type of thing, and then they brought in a lunch truck from 11 until 4. There was a top-up truck, and it was just all this little extra stuff that just to make our day better.
Oh, very cool.
That they did for us. So I mean, I couldn't have been happier. They treated us really good. They were happy. We had no, because their fear was a red flag incident of some sort. We had just during the races we had a breakdown or something like that. We had no cart tangle ups and no mass spin outs, and I mean there's a few that spun out or a few that missed the line and got back on the track, but no major incidents. Where here we go, here's another black eye for us. But
yeah,
all the guys were professional, and they all the drivers were fantastic. All the drivers get a big pat on the back for how they handled themselves. They were on time at the grid, ready to go. It was great.
Well, that's a great way to end the podcast. I mean, it's
yes.
On a high note.
Yeah, it was. It was a great weekend, and we look forward to doing it again.
All right. So I'm gonna wrap up the podcast, but hang on the line for me. So for those that are just tuning in, we have Mark Morrison, the president of NCK Road Racers, with us. You can find information on NCK at nckroadracing.com. And we were basically recapping the Speed Vegas event they just had last weekend. So, Mark, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.